He is interested in coming to Missouri because we have shown an effort towards the very things that he is passionate about and that are in this movie. After viewing it last night, I would say this movie, Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, is a must-see for all students, at least high school and college. It is a must-see for parents who are paying for college. I've been one of those. It is a must-see for teachers and professors, and after working in this area of academic freedom and intellectual diversity, I can tell you that a lot of people either have their head in the sand or they are just being disingenuous when they say this is not a problem in this country. It is a must-see for taxpayers who are paying for education in this country, and it is a must-see for legislators and those who are trying to find solutions for the problem that Ben and these producers have so eloquently and persuasively uncovered. With that, I am just going to introduce Ben Stein because you're here to hear from him and to see him. And Ben Stein, we're honored to have you in Missouri.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for your incredibly kind words, and thank you for having me here in this, and my producers here in this incredibly beautiful room. I'm floored by this mural. I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful mural, and it's a true national treasure, and I don't think it's very well known, but it's a true national treasure. We wanted to work on this movie, Expelled, because we were concerned that Darwinism, which is a brilliant theory, just beyond words brilliant, and explains a great deal about microevolution within species, was being taught as the only scientific explanation for creation, for development of life, for development from inorganic to organic matter, for explanation of every kind of science, even astronomy, even physics, even thermodynamics, and we have been very troubled by the stranglehold that Darwinism has on academic pursuits. We've been very troubled by the fact that if you raise the slightest question about Darwinism, you can get fired, you can lose your job, you can lose your grants, you can lose your website. This doesn't seem to me or to us to be consonant with the doctrines of free speech and freedom of inquiry that are basic to the functioning of the United States of America and basic to why so many people gave their lives for the United States of America. They did not give their lives for one certain dogma to have a stranglehold on academic pursuits and everything else to be expelled, so to speak. So we've traveled around the world making this movie and inquiring, and what we found was really amazing. You are not even allowed to say that some intelligent design might have caused the movement of the planets to work so that the movement of the planets so the planets don't just fall down. I mean, you're not even allowed to say that there might have been some intelligent design in the workings of the laws of thermodynamics or the workings of the laws of physics or the workings of the laws of fluid motion. Nothing can be questioned about Darwinism or else you are in severe academic jeopardy. So this doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, even Darwin himself, who was unequivocally a great genius, said, we want there to be inquiry about this subject. He said, we cannot understand this subject. It's too complicated. What we need is endless discussion, debate, and analysis of this problem. He said, to try to understand all these problems we're addressing is like a dog trying to understand Newton's physics. It can't be done. You just have to keep inquiring and keep talking and keep debating. We'd like to keep that debate going. That's the purpose of our movie. That is the purpose of what Jane and her colleagues are doing here in trying to get academic diversity and academic freedom. We don't see any reason why you surrender your free speech rights and your free inquiry rights when you pick up your registration card in high school or college. So thank you very much.
When I entered the legislature in 2003, I filed a bill to allow intelligent design to be taught without any repercussions. And the bill hasn't gone anywhere, but I believe that there's a really important issue here because I believe that what is packaged and sold under the label of science is not science, but is people's personal worldview. And I believe that they criticize any person that has another worldview and say that they're just trying to give their religious view. But what they're doing is giving their religious view, which is that of philosophic naturalism. And so I believe this issue deserves to be addressed.
I think we did. I can't remember who they were offhand. Walt, do you remember any?
There was a very diverse group. There was a lot of Jewish professors, researchers.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. We had a number of the scientists we interviewed were Jewish, and some were believing Christians. So yes, there were some.
How did they reconcile their scientific beliefs with their?
Well, they were not Darwinists. They were mainstream scientists, but they weren't Darwinists. But you have actually put your finger now on an extremely important point that I hope gets out, which is Emily. What's the woman's name from the National Science Teachers? Eugenie Scott says that there are no reputable mainstream scientists who believe in any theory other than Darwinist evolution, natural selection, and random mutation. We actually met many mainstream, highly credentialed scientists who do not believe that that is an adequate explanation. No one questions that microscopic small changes, microevolution within species happens, and that it was a brilliant insight of Darwinism, of Darwin, to see that. We question whether there has been ever observed the evolution of a separate species, whether there has ever been observed any kind of Darwinist explanation for the origins of life itself. And there, I must say, I think we've struck pay dirt, because nobody can contradict us. Nobody's been able to provide us with any contradictory data. And if I may say so, the mainstream scientists that we interviewed, mainstream Darwinists, had no serious explanation for the questions we asked. No serious explanations at all. Well, I'd say the first, I had long been concerned about, by the way, can I ask you, does that tiny little thing record this? Wow, it's amazing. Anyway, how come these guys have these big giant things? I see. I was prompted to tackle this because I'd always been extremely dubious about Darwinism, because Darwinism leads to social Darwinism, which is the disgusting belief that there are superior and inferior races, and that it is the duty of the superior races to eliminate the inferior races. This was explicitly one of the props of National Socialism, Nazism under Adolf Hitler, and explicitly one of the props of the Holocaust, which killed 6 million of my fellow Jews. And so I had always been extremely leery of Darwinism for that reason. Once I started discussing the general subject of academic suppression and the shortage of data to support Darwinism with the men and women who worked on this project, and they started sending me books about it, it became very clear that Darwinism rests on an extremely slender pillar of belief. And while the Darwinists themselves will shout down any opposition, when it comes to asking the basic questions, where did life come from? How did inorganic matter become organic life? They have no answers. We have been screening the movie all across the country. We were invited to come to Florida to discuss it with people in Florida who were working on a bill very similar to Jane's and Dr. Cooper's about academic diversity and academic freedom. And when we found out that you have a bill similar to that pending in the legislature here in Missouri, we wanted to come and just show the flag and show our support for academic diversity and for freedom of speech. It's an interesting thing. This is a bill, Jane's bill, is a bill that protects teachers. It protects students. Nobody is harmed by it. Nobody is suppressed by it. Nobody is told what to say. Nobody is told that he can't talk or she can't talk. Nobody is told that he or she has to keep his mouth shut. All we're doing is giving more of an opportunity for freedom of speech. I really am puzzled as to why there would even be any opposition to it at all. I mean, it just basically says what the First Amendment says, only it applies it specifically to schools. And I might add a very, very great bargain. We stayed in a really nice room at the, what's it called, the Capitol Plaza for $130 a night. You can't beat that. Yes, in fact, we've been extremely satisfied with the reaction, especially of those who are not on our side, with those on the other side, because the most they've been able really to come up with is that when you interviewed us, you didn't tell us the title of the movie. And what I say to them is, we are challenging your whole worldview. We're challenging your whole academic view of the universe, and the most you can come up with to oppose us is that we didn't tell you the name of the movie. There's something very encouraging about that. Theater. It's going to be in theaters all across the country. We have a lot of screens now. We hope to be up to 1,000 screens or close to it by. It might be close to it on the other side of it, past it by a release date.